a thread by the soul war. The real reason the left has pivoted from their failed insurrection, Trump beat their long planned attack on America in 3 days, to hashtag defund the police, is the same reason they began the caravans on the US border in 2018, 2019, to overwhelm and collapse their target. Heard anything in the news lately about the border? No, right? That's because President Trump won the border war. I live in South Texas. When President Trump deployed the US military to bolster the CBP and ICE, everything was restructured to be effective. No old college try. Powerful truck mounted cameras were deployed that can see for miles in all weather and at night. Drones were used to cover hillsides and valleys the cameras couldn't see through. Dogs and roving patrols circled in the gaps between perimeters. It was effective. Detentions skyrocketed. What the international left was doing, I called the pattering rain strategy. Hundreds of groups of coyotes and illegals crossing over every week into Texas, California, New Mexico, and Arizona. This is textbook Cloward and Piven to bring enough moochers over to collapse social services and welfare. The cumulative effect of these numbers was staggering, especially in California, which is an indicator of what the left wants for all Americans. If you're familiar with either Thomas Wichter's threads or those of his number one fan, Carlos Osuita, the state of California is dire and growing worse. But the unleashed CBP and ICE, with military backup, was effectively interdicting the pattering rain of illegals. So the international left switched strategies from the pattering rain to the flood. Caravans of tens of thousands were funded and formed to batter the US border. These caravans were funded by quote unquote Catholic charities and international aid organizations that are actually nothing more than Marxist fronts. The left, furious their efforts were being thwarted, said, okay, interdict this, and unleashed the flood. For a time, the border was overwhelmed. For months, as the situation worsened, Schumer and Pelosi mocked racist Trump for talking about a border crisis, implying that there was no such thing. Then, when it became too great to ignore, they effortlessly pivoted to blaming him for it, as planned. After almost 6 months of struggling with the caravans and overwhelmed staff and facilities, President Trump's strategy paid off. Mexico began halting and turning the caravans back. The cameras, drones, patrols, and dogs, as well as the wall, also stemmed the flood. President Trump won. So, the mainstream media dropped the story since it would no longer hurt the Trump. Why am I revisiting a past Trump victory almost no one realizes? Because it's happening again in a far more insidious manner. Hashtag defund the police is the same strategy brought to you by hashtag Marxist swine. President Trump, AG Barr, and Secretary of Defense Esper rickrolled the demonic left and defeated their long-planned insurrection in less than a week. Years in planning, billions spent, decapitated in 3 days. Now, the huge mobs they ginned up are milling about, chanting and yelling at cops. But the systemic, keyword, arson and looting stopped almost overnight. Yes, There are instances of arson and looting now, but they are infrequent and isolated. Nothing like May 27th, 28th, or the 29th. So now we get the next phase, an escalation / response to America defeating their glorious revolution. What defund the police actually is another attempt to overwhelm federal law enforcement. Trump and Barr activated over 1,000 federal SWAT tactical teams in lieu of the Army. These teams, instead of the tanks and machine guns that the left expected, good gracious, hang on, that the left expected, are restoring order. So the international left now has all the governors and mayors of blue states and cities stand their police down, defund them, or finesse them into quitting. Do you see it yet? The federal teams and agents will now be forced to remain in situ to maintain the peace the left is now determined to wreck for years or months, maybe years, for weeks or months, maybe years. These teams are from all over the nation. There will be fatigue and attrition. So the left is piling on. Okay, police this. The goal is to overwhelm the federal teams. As the actual local police are defunded, quit, or twiddle their thumbs. Chaos. All of it to defeat Trump in November, and if he's reelected, to make blue cities ungovernable. Like New York City under Mayor Dinkins. No one can govern New York City. Rudy Giuliani proved them wrong. And for that, they'll never forgive him. That's okay. Rudy's busy exposing their actual Ukrainian corruption. But the fact remains, the DNC is now determined to wreck their own police and allowing rioters and looters to run amok until you submit. From pattering rain to flood, from organized insurrection to controlled chaos, their intentions have never wavered. As long as America is a constitutional republic grounded in faith and family, they will never stop. So, Trump is going to render them powerless. After he's reelected in a landslide or a Trump slide, there will be a brief and ugly spate of violence. The beast, you see, must ensure you never, ever, ever enjoy the fruits of American liberty, prosperity, or stability. As long as they are denied power, you cannot be allowed to shine. What President Trump has been incrementally doing since he took office is carefully, stealthily, yet relentlessly removing their ability to impact your life. They have sent 3 events at him and us to stop it: pandemic, economic hit, insurrection. Each wave has failed. You are witnessing the international left's last hurrah on US soil. All their demonic influence, their money, their bought or compromised politicians is being broken. Now, entire city populations are being held hostage by their insane determination to get Trump. Something is about to slip. When it does, the entire dynamic of everything unfolding will change. President Trump isn't playing with the lives of the American people. The left is. They were warned to stop. They haven't. All will be well. The reckoning is nigh. People in deep blue cities have forgotten the Second Amendment and declared the First Amendment hate speech. They elect Democrats over and over, regardless of the results. So now the consequences will be seen, heard, and smelt as a vile and despicable foreign influence. Marxism is rooted out. The stench will sicken them. This was all preordained the day Trump won the presidency. These waves of chaos were anticipated. Not the exact form, of course, but President Trump and the nation will come back stronger than ever. It doesn't feel like it now as the MSM spit venom and hate 24/7. Stop listening. President Donald John Trump is a once in a millennium figure. We have lucked out beyond all imagining, and prayers are being answered. The wicked, insane, and despicable will still be here, but their ability to impact your life will be utterly wrecked, even in blue cities.